values? So values are a person's principles or standards of behaviors. They are one's ideas about what is important in life. And what I want to stress here is one's ideas, because your values are going to be completely different than your values. The premise here is understanding that we are all individually unique. So this also helps with judgment, because when you have a set of values that work for you, you tend to kind of box people into like, well, you're not doing it the way that I would do it, or you're not doing it. So I think this is going to be a great awakening, an awareness of understanding that this is your own idea of what is important to you and what drives you. Second of all, when we look at values, why would they be important? Well, the first thing here is that everything you think, everything you feel, and every action that you take is because of your core values. And a lot of times we are unconscious of what they are because they've been dropped down to us, they've been innately programmed into us at a young age. So a lot of people just go by what they feel like their core values were from maybe their parents or a teacher or a preacher or whatever the case is. So the important part of this is that these three things, your thinking, how you think, how you feel, and how you act, shape your life. So you're being drawn to something all the time, and if you're not aware of what it is, then it's confusing, because you just kind of go with what someone else does, or you're kind of looking at things. So today you're going to understand your energetic structure of the reasons as to why you're being driven to maybe this career, or maybe you're being driven to this, or you're just understanding more of who you are, because they shape your life. They shape your decisions in your life. Values also tell you what is important to you. And it does this through our emotional states. So when you think about values, think about them as, I always call it your higher power, your higher self, sending down those desires, those inspired actions that you feel. You can call your higher self, you can call God, you can call it universe, source, whatever you want to call it, but it is desires, and it is an energetic flow that comes directly to you through your emotional states, through this beautiful, wonderful body. The body is so intelligent that it will continue to tell you exactly if you are in what emotional state you're in. If you're lined up with your core values and your desires, your body's you're gonna feel good. When you're outside of these core values, or you're going in a different direction, your body's also gonna tell you that. So if you're not lined up with your core values, you will know because of your emotional state. When you make a decision, that is where your power is coming from. Are you making a decision in resistance, or are you making the decision because it's lined up with who you are? So how do you know when you're not living by your core values? You know that you're not living in your values because you should all over yourself. You wake up in the morning and I should do this, and I ought to do that, and I need to do this. And it's like, this is the first thing that flows through our mind, are all the shoulds that we put on ourselves. You're not being your true authentic self when your life is full of obligations in life. You have to do this because, or you need to do that because, then you leave yourself behind. You leave your core values, you leave your core self behind. Then you start living a life of, I ought to, instead of I love to. If you're truly staying true to yourself and you're being authentic and you're staying true to your core values, time won't fly by, and you'll be able to actually be present while you're doing them and enjoy life. Life won't feel like it is on autopilot. You won't feel unsatisfied and unfulfilled. You'll actually feel fulfilled and complete while you're living in your flow. What is it that your life is demonstrating that shows what you value and what you don't value? You know what you value because it feels good, it brings you energy. You know what you don't value because it doesn't energy. Your emotional guidance system is constantly working for you. So what are those? One of the determining values of understanding what you value and what your life is demonstrating to you is by understanding, again, what is in your space. When we look at space, what is in your intimate and personal space at all times? Is it a computer? Is it a phone? Is it food? What is in your intimate and personal space on a regular basis? The second one here is time. We're all running out of time if we're not living present. So what are you creating time for on a regular basis? Where does time tend to be you tend to find time to be able to do these things. What energizes you as you move through your day? What is it that, as you're obligated to do all these life events and life things in order to pay the bills and make sure there's food on the table and all these tasks that we have, which of these things that you're doing brings you energy? And if you're doing nothing that brings you energy, that's also an awareness. No judgment. And you know what feels good when you do it, and you know what doesn't feel good when you do it. Money. What do you spend your money on, and where do you find money to do it? Coffee, probably because you need energy, right? Because life isn't energizing you enough. Where do you spend your money? It's a great awareness. Where do you find money? For me, it's priceless to put stuff like this together. Where are you most organized? And for anyone who says I'm not organized, bullshit. Anything that you value, you are organized. If you say you're not organized, that means you're comparing yourself to others based on what organization looks like. But you are organized. You will organize certain aspects of your life because they're important to you. What is it that you do that you're extremely disciplined at? Other indicators of what is valuable to you. So think about, what is it that you think about on a reg? What do you think about the most? What do you wake up in the middle of the night about? It's also, what do you visualize when you're daydreaming? Whatever's happening in that mind. If we keep up with the thinking side of us, what do we think? What do we visualize? What are we dialoguing internally the most about? And then the other part, not only internal dialogue of what we're thinking, what we're visualizing, or what we're saying about to ourselves, but when we're in conversation with others, what are the things that we're talking about that makes us go from that introverted me into like, oh, I have information on this topic, I want to share my information, and you start connecting with people and like, oh my gosh, you like that too, and I like this too. Like, what are the conversation, what do you converse with others the most about that lights you up? And then the last three here is really, what is inspiring to you? So when you're listening to something or you're watching something on TV, if you're at a concert, what is it about that experience that you're having that is inspiring to you? And also, what brings tears to your eyes? You're inspired so much that you see yourself in that. And then last one here, I know there's what goals do you want to procreate, but it's really looking at, what are you doing now that's leading to the goals that you have for your future? So if you say that, health is one of your values, but there's nothing in your life that you're doing right now to show that health is a value, I would say that that's probably that's not really a value of yours if you're not currently doing it now. If you say you love health, but you're not doing anything to further your health, it's probably not one of your top values. And the content that you're feeding your mind, what is the information that you're constantly bringing in? Whether it's a podcast, whether it's TV, whether it's music, whether it's books, what are you constantly wanting to learn about? And where is your attention most focused that brings you energy? What do you love paying attention to? Is it your children, just every time they talk? And the top three things here that I want everyone to take away is really just understanding that when you consciously understand your core values, that's where you get to choose the direction of your life. Because again, decisions are your power, but you're making decisions based on this intuitive desire to move either right or move left, whatever is within your core values. When living your highest values, you're inspired and an awakened genius. So again, you can live in your flow and still get all your shit done. You don't have to be obligated to these things. Once you line up with your core values, then everything else goes into flow. And that's when you're living present. You're living in your present moment because life is now energizing you versus doing everything because you're obligated to do them and just get them done. And third, your unique, authentic self is the value that you bring. But what is that? Who is that? How do we describe that? We put it into words, yes. And finally, this one thing that I told myself, and it just made me cry, because when you understand how valuable that you are to yourself, you realize that the world is a better place because you are in it. And this is for all of you. The world is a better place because each and one of you are in it. Think of taking yourself out of this world and how many people would be affected by that. Your animals, your children, your family, your dogs. The love that you give is so unique and so valuable. You make this world a better place. So thank you for being and living authentically. I'm excited to hear more about your authentic selves and finding more of who you are.